Hello, 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 darling! We're back, baby! I got a new soundboard. I am pumped to get back into Berserk, and we kicked that copyright strike's ass. I lost my page. Hey, I found it. But if I'm being honest, I'm not 100% happy with how this copyright situation has gone. Because out of fear of losing my career, I stopped making manga content for far too long. And as a thank you to you all for coming back and watching this video, I'm gonna be giving away a brand new Berserk Deluxe Edition Volume 1. You don't gotta link this video unless you feel like being extra nice, but all you gotta do to enter in a chance to win this is just tweet at me, "Hey Daniel, I would like that, please and thank you," and then I'll follow you back, send me your address, and you'll get your very own Berserk First Volume Deluxe Edition. Do you want me to sign? I'm not gonna sign it, that's weird. I don't wanna sign another author's book. I'll rub it on my face though, if you want that. Does that make you happy? Without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump back into Berserk. Winter Journey, Part Uno. The story resumes with Puck, Guts, and Casca fighting their way through a horde of snow demons. Did not see that one coming. Also, wouldn't like hitting a snow demon with a sword give you like the nail on chalkboard feeling? I'm gonna test that. No, that was not actually that bad, though I scared the shit out of my cats with a blender. But the big takeaway after this action is done is that Guts is exhausted. Casca keeps eating more than her fair share of food, and Guts is slowly falling apart physically as he's being required to stay up all night fighting demons again and again. Puck observes that he never thought he'd see Guts behaving this heroically, and tries to contribute to keeping a lookout so that Guts can manage some rest, but we see even that is not going well because after a dream where some kind of demonic form is tempting Guts into following in Griffith's path, with Casca, which is just... When Guts awakes from this, we see that Puck also fell asleep, and now Guts has to scramble to kill some demons. We see, though, that during the next night, when Guts is trying to defend the party, he loses control and ends up grabbing Casca by the throat. This, of course, scares her, and when she awakens, she flees from him, seeming to regress her condition into a worse state. If it seems like I'm going over quite a bit without giving my thoughts, it's because I want to reach a certain point before I do, so stay tuned. I know quite a few of you asked me to stop and give my thoughts more. This is just me trying to get to a point where I want to give full context thoughts. Guts even begins considering himself naive, forever thinking Casca could return to her former self. For her own safety, they're forced to tie her up so they can keep her close so she will not get harmed. But there is a growing space between Casca and Guts, represented in several different ways on the page. It's shown to us again and again just how exhausted Guts is becoming. But once him and Puck slip up again, both falling asleep, Casca escapes, coming across a group of bandits who then begin assaulting her. Because... of course, Guts desperately searching for her, trying to save her in time. We see a graphic depiction once again of assault happening against Casca. Her mind then goes back to being attacked by all those demons, but when Guts arrives, he finds her standing over the murdered corpses of the rapists, her having butchered them. So at least she saved herself this time. From what we can see though, the assault has already happened. She begins attacking Guts with a sword, but Guts stops and subdues her, something coming over him. He then forces a kiss on Casca, trailing down her body and biting her breast as the demonic form we saw before consumes him. Now, even in the uncensored version, I'm not going to be showing too much of this because I'm just not comfortable showing this to a large audience of people. I'm going to show just what I absolutely have to keep the story going. I wanted to reach this point before I gave full thoughts because when I saw this happening in the page, I actually thought it was a full-on complete assault from Guts, but after looking online and double checking, no, he snaps out of it, and that's why he's still in full armor before it goes beyond just him biting her to the point of drawing blood on the breast. I get narratively and character-wise, especially for Guts, why this is happening. Do I like that it's happening to Casca again within the context of Berserk? No. And I just have to accept that it is, and that the story is trying to set up a payoff for Guts down the road. Though I will give credit to an extent, her agency is returning in some ways within the narrative with how much she is fighting back against being with Guts at this point. And that actually hints at Casca's development going further, at least from what I can tell from what I continue to read for the rest of today's video. So let's continue into that. From here we cut to Puck, who is also still looking for Casca, not being with Guts. He spots Isidoro running in the distance. The two of them reunite just in time for Serpico to also join them, with of course Lady Fernice not far behind. Puck finds Guts and Casca reunited and brings the travelers with him. Isidoro notices that Casca is tied up and asks what's going on. Puck, stepping in, says it's for her own good because of her continual need to escape. Accepting this, Isidoro then turns around and says, "It's deal time! Now you get to pay me back. The secrets of your sword fighting and the secrets, leaving nothing out. And soon like now." Guts ignores him, looking to Serpico and Lady Fernice, saying, "So what about you two?" With Puck acknowledging Isidoro's pledge, saying that I formally recognize you as a disciple of the elf dimension style. I cannot stress this enough. Take him up on that. I know Guts is the badass Isidoro, but elf dimension style? That's gonna be at least interesting. Guts asks Lady Fernice and Serpico if they're still trying to catch him, to which Lady Fernice drops to her knees and says, "Black Swordsman, please allow us to accompany you in your travels." Turning to Serpico, she says, "Come on, aren't you going to kneel too?" To which he hesitantly does. Guts asks, "What's the big deal?" "Don't trust him," Isidoro says. "It's so sudden, it's shady. I bet they're waiting for a chance to nab us. After all, they're from the Holy See." Lady Fernice rejects this, saying, "I have already secularized myself and abandoned the church. I want to know what transcends the order I clung to, the truth. And I want to learn a way to survive in the darkness where the light of that order does not reach. Please show me the way." Isidoro is still mad at this, saying to Lady Fernice, "How are you going to pay for what you did to Casca at the Tower Conviction? A little more and she would have been charred corpse." And as Isidoro continues to irate Lady Fernice, she draws her sword and cuts her hair. "This is all I can do now. Someday I will make amends." To which Puck says to Isidoro, "If you say anything else, you'll totally be a villain." Guts asks, "Why do priests and nobles gotta be so drastic? Do what you want." To which Lady Fernice says, "Alright then." And this continues on with Guts saying essentially Lady Fernice owes him nothing because he killed her comrades. "I feel like I can learn so much from you. I killed your family." Yeah. And that he's not showing her the way. This is about survival. And Guts finishes it off with a warning about how there'll be no more restful nights. It's going to be them fighting for their lives constantly. And there's a really big character takeaway here and from an observation Puck is about to make. But I want to talk first about the difference in perspective between Lady Fernice and Guts. Of course, Lady Fernice, someone who has been in these religious institutions and a part of all this order, is going to come to Guts and expect some kind of tutelage teaching. That's not Guts, and that's not what his life is or how he views the world. She has come from this institution that has bastardized religion for its own gains, and that is why she looks at someone like Guts, a struggler, and expects some form of philosophy behind it. She sees what he stands for as antithetical to what she used to stand for. But Guts doesn't stand for things. He's a struggler, a survivor. There's a very specific reason I feel like that word is being used. And so it's like he inadvertently gave her the very first big lesson by being like, there's not going to be strict defined lessons. You just need to survive. That is, in a way, what Lady Fernice is looking for. A whole new perspective, a new way to look at things outside of the lies she was living in. You could cut ties with all the lies. Guts, in a very weird way, stands for everything by standing for nothing. He is a raw example of human survival with everything else stripped away. And that simplicity in this complex world is why so many people seem to have such a hard time getting close to or understanding him. It's like he's cultureless, he's communityless, he is the struggler. And that's what Lady Fernice really needs to learn overall, that the people that she's been persecuting, the strugglers, the sick, the needy, they aren't a part of some conspiracy against her or the religion and institution. They're either people who just don't know what's going on, they're struggling to survive, they're just the most vulnerable. And her organization has been exploiting and using and persecuting these people for not living up to a standard that they invented. And today's video is brought to you by
Campfire and my mic cutting out.
Not afraid to sponsor some explicit content. And yes, Campfire has a brand new set of upgrades for its maps. Oh, I'm excited to see it. Not only can you pin any element to a map, not only are all these custom icons available to you, not only are there zones you can put all these elements within, but ladies and gentlemen, they also have some auto integration with a company
you may recognize. And from there, Campfire decided that's not enough. We need to bring more to our users. So they've now stocked the website full of royalty-free images for you to use to help visualize and craft the actual image of the world you want to make. That's an amazing addition, I'm proud to say. You can go ahead and try out with their mobile app that has no ads. Oh, how's that possible? And you can download it for free!
Seriously hate this mic.
It's why I'm happy to have them here on a sponsor, and now you can go down in the link in the description down below and start crafting your fantasy world in ways that weren't even available to Tolkien himself. Back to the video. I'm out.
But from here, Puck observes that it's really weird how Guts is accepting them. And Guts' inner monologue comes in after we read that and says that if it wasn't for what just happened with Costco, or he had to snap out of something far more horrible happening, he would have rejected them. But now he's bringing in these other people almost as a way to add cushioning between the harsh reality that is himself and the vulnerable person that is Casca. Puck is not enough. And that, from a writing perspective, is how you set up and execute a character making a decision you need to be made for the narrative to continue forward the way you want it to go without violating that character's defined traits. Because yeah, if it wasn't for the specific mental course Guts was on now, I'd have a pretty big problem with him accepting anyone coming with them. And this section ends with Guts thinking, I'm beaten down by my own powerlessness. When was the last time she smiled? Again, the curtain of night descends. But from here we cut to two armies battling, from the Midlands and of course the Kushan. We see a young noble who is considering whether or not to save some civilians from the descending Kushan. One of his officers is trying to talk him out of the rescue, saying they should meet up with a local force that has apparently been liberating conquered areas by the Kushan. This is Griffith's force, but the Lord cannot stand to see the commoners taken by the Kushan, and him and his men attack the larger force. On a distant hill, we see Griffith watching. The fight begins, and the Kushan send in their slaves to fight first. These are comprised of mostly Midlanders forced to fight for the Kushan with archers at their back. This is a real-life work tactic meant to break down the enemy force's morale. You know, you're probably not going to necessarily win with people who are being forced to fight in this way with archers behind them, but it's going to make the people you're going to have to combat with take some serious damage to their overall morale, and yes, begin to tire them and buy you time to build up the rest of your force to attack exactly how you want to. It's a horrific, perfect counter to what is happening to the Kushan. I also really love the narrative setup of making us clearly like this noble a lot by having him not wait for Griffith and instead try and go and rescue these people. Of course, he doesn't know what Griffith is, but that subtle little action makes us think, oh, he might not be on Griffith's side. It could be some kind of foreshadowing. No, compared to what we're about to see, but it also means we're in a situation where we come to like this guy, and suddenly the only avenue for rescue for him after he bites off more than he can chew is Griffith, as we saw they are watching the battlefield. And I do not like waiting for him to be the savior. It's like this complex double upset, no reinforcements, but I want this guy to live. And it was established and executed so fast. But before the slave army is even fully taken down, the Kushan order archers to start pelting the attacking force, killing their own men. By this time, they've rallied their cavalry and are about to descend on the attacking force. But arrows spring out from an incredible distance and take down a large portion of the cavalry. Additional Midland support cavalry arrives. The Kushan commander, though, is still confident, knowing their size is greater than even the combined reinforcements. But then we see one final batch of combatants arrive. Beasts led by Nosferatu Zod, demonic warriors in armor, easily slicing their way through the Kushan's army. The Kushan commander begins getting nervous. You mustn't retreat. The enemy numbers are less than 100. You call yourselves Kushan elite. But as the last of Griffith's force arrive, morale of the Kushan begins to heavily waver, their army busted into pieces. The general is frozen with fear as Griffith himself descends on the Kushan army, jumping far higher than should be possible on his horse to reach the Kushan general, slicing off their head. Griffith calls out, "I've killed the leader! Finish off the rest of them!" The Kushan army retreats in the nearby woods. The second in command, wondering how they could have possibly been defeated, considering the whispers of priests now to be more than just whispers. But just as their army begins to regain its form, more beasts from the woods begin descending on them. So Griffith's power is being established to us. We are seeing he is still an absolute force to be reckoned with, and maybe even more so than before, as he's seeming to have supernatural abilities. Quick correction from the last video, I thought the arrows that were shot at him from the Kushan archers in that section passed through him, but apparently we were supposed to take the observation from the Kusan officer literally, at least from what the comments were telling me, and that it was some miraculous chance that all the arrows missed him. I apologize for misreading it. Currently in Griffith's camp, we are seeing the young lord who initiated the attack being greeted by the young girl we saw praising Griffith from the crowd before. She begins taking him to Griffith, and we see more and more twisted things happening within his army. It starts fairly normal with a well-known local hero having be a part of Griffith's ranks. While the young prince is meeting this lord, he notices Kushan working with Griffith's men. The hero tells him there is friction within the Kushan people, and that these Kushan soldiers must prove their loyalty to Griffith before they can join. Continuing from there, though, the young lord sees the beasts that are fighting for Griffith's force. The girl tells him they are called war demons. And the fact that this girl has decided to have this massive forehead, it's really distracting. It's like way bigger than anyone else's. I don't know why this was decision made. I've got a pretty big forehead. I'm not judging. It's just all I can see when she's talking. The young lord notices that they're tearing apart an animal and eating its raw meat. One of the demons grabs the girl, lifting her in the air, but she seems unfazed. The lord tries to protect her, but he is grabbed up as well. Just as it seems that things might get bad, a giant comes forward and frees the girl by grabbing the demon's hand. An arrow is shot by the leader of the archers we saw before, freeing the young lord. The giant threatens the monsters that they cannot harm the guests of Lord Griffith. The demon assures him it was just a joke, but the giant still warns the girl to come with protection next time. They continue on their journey, seeing Nosferatu Zod before entering a clearing. Griffith sits atop a hill, surrounded by the souls of his men that died that day. Families of the souls of the men who died are gathered, able to actually see the souls of their dead loved ones and say goodbye before they pass into the afterlife. At least that's what we're told is happening. Do I believe that? Absolutely not. Something I imagine horrific is actually happening here, because of course Griffith is a false evil prophet. He's not actually an angel of God, and so I'm just watching this being like, oh no, no, get everyone out, leave immediately, sound the alarm, capital this. But after the spirits are finished saying goodbye, they ascend into the night sky. The young lord asks Griffith, the cluster of lights, where exactly did it go? To where they will become one. Become one? Where is that? Heaven or else? Someday you'll know. That time comes for everyone. Griffith then introduces himself to the young lord, and the young lord begins crying after setting eyes on Griffith, shocked by his appearance. He pledges fealty to Griffith, saying, please, I ask you to accept this sword. Griffith accepts his pledge of fealty as the young lord comments that he thinks it feels like destiny. Just then in the distance, we see Kushiel assassins taking aim at Griffith, but they are taken out by the shadow bodyguard that Griffith has. Which, by far the one I'm most curious about of all the new, like, Griffith recruits we're getting. The design on that of just like a mask and a void, I mean, there's a lot of examples of this, obviously, but it is one of my favorite, like, basic creature starting designs. From here, we cut back to our main party, and we see that Guts is training Isidoro, which I was surprised to see. I didn't think he'd actually set up to be giving Isidoro lessons, and I thought that Serpico would have to step in and do it for him, but no, Griffith is indeed giving Isidoro sword lessons. And we also see that Lady Farnese is feeling rather useless, as she is still struggling with what she's having to accept in this new view of reality she has, but she is managing to bond with Casca quite a bit. And for that reason, despite Lady Farnese specifically saying she feels like she's the most useless person in the party right now, she is absolutely the most valuable person in this party right now. But one evening where she's supposed to be taking care of Casca, she steps away to try and grab a rabbit, and unfortunately loses Casca just as night approaches. She stays out all night trying to find Casca, taking refuge in a tree. The next morning, the party finds her, Casca safe with them. Lady Farnese feels even more like a burden, specifically saying, I am a burden. See? Serpico asks her if they should go back to the Holy City, which she rejects. However powerless, however helpless and clumsy, for the first time, I'm discovering myself. Every time I've even had extraordinarily heavy criticisms of Berserk, what has consistently remained near flawless is character development. And as I've said many times, character is 90+% of good storytelling. And Lady Farnese right now, it's one of these things where I'm like, no, not her. She cannot be someone who I end up liking. No. Oh, also one more quick correction from the last video. I said something that made people think I was trying to say that Griffith is being set up in the grander narrative for some kind of redemption or forgiveness. Absolutely not. I do not think that in any way, shape, or form. Griffith is way too far gone to ever be redeemed or ever even attempt to be redeemed within this story, and I do not think it's trying to go in that direction obviously. I think what I was more trying to observe is how the view of him from a lot of the people around him and society is becoming this like deity. That is just wildly disturbing to me, and I love it. We cut to see Guts getting directions from an old man on the side of the road who tells them if they want to avoid people to take a certain road, but warns them of trolls. But the chapter Trolls, I think we might meet some trolls, begins with Isidro having stolen some food. The man he stole it from catches him but takes pity on Isidro and gives him an apple. But just as he lets down his guard, Isidro grabs him and suplexes him to the ground. Oh my god. I now know my favorite Isidro moment. Holy hell, that is so funny. Aw, poor little kid. All right, I'll give you one out. Isidro then gets away with the man's food, throwing one apple to beam him in the face. We see Isidro is continuing to train with Guts, and despite Guts easily beating him again, Guts does compliment him quite a bit on his improvement, observing he's even utilizing his size to his advantage, attacking continually low. I really like this for Guts. It does feel like something that is plausible for him with the amount of growth he's gone through, so cool. Although it appears Isidro is not going with the elf dimension style. Dumbass. Guts and Sir Pico go off together though, and it's established the only reason Sir Pico is there is because of Lady Farnese. And if he says anything happens that results in Lady Farnese's death, him and Guts will have a problem. Though he admits, you changed her. But alas, I set aside my personal feelings. So long as Lady Farnese continues this journey as her attendant, I will do my best to get along with you. He actually said that before the threat. You saw where it was going though. Just then, Casca and Lady Farnese are taken by trolls. Isidro is the first to catch them trying to fight one of the trolls, though he quickly loses, with an observer shrouded in darkness watching. It's the witch we saw from before. It's the little spoopy witch. I love witch characters. The witch joins them and tells them to be careful, dropping some berries. There is danger. Be quiet. Take a look around, and we see there are roughly a dozen trolls surrounding them. The witch creates a circle of protection. We see her elf who says, "That's right, that's what it means. She's a witch. What she's chanting right now is a spell to protect all you from the Shaggies. I too have a terrible fear of being attacked by Shaggies. So you better shush and not bother her if you don't want to die." And we see the trolls try and break the barrier, but fail. The witch then casts a spell which scares them off. Lady Farnese looks at the witch and thinks, a witch. Accurate. The witch begins to leave, but Isidro grabs her. She turns around, and while he assumes she was an old hag, to quote him, not me, it's actually a young girl about his age. She then bumps Isidro with her staff, turning him into a part monkey. That's fucking hilarious. Guts arrives them just as the witch disappears, still watching them from a distance. She observes, even though I didn't formulate with group magic, they saw the pentagram. Has this region been invaded by the other layer to such an extent? Girl, that man too. Who are those two? It's as if they're attracting a they're the branded. It's the brand. It makes spoopy happen really aggressively. Isidro begins slowly turning back into a normal child, and we get one more beat of Guts thinking about the demon, the dark compulsion that is growing within him. They come across an older man who was with a party that was attacked by the trolls. He is apparently the only survivor, and when he was a child, he apparently actually saw a witch in the forest, and they're going to find the witch now seeking aid. Apparently the trolls have become so aggressive they're attacking his local village. Yet another thing we can lay at the feet of Griffith. We also learn a little bit more details about how the war is beginning to affect the common people. As the party gets close to a witch's hideout, it seems some form of silent alarm is triggered. She knows they're approaching, and they do arrive at this amazing, awesome house. Isidro, walking around the luxurious property, distracted, which I don't blame him, bumps into a giant stone statue, except it's not a statue, it's a golem. Isidro begins running, but the golem reaches to snatch him. Guts steps forward and slices off its arm. Several more golems of all kinds of sizes begin surrounding the party. The only problem is no matter how many times they're cut down, they seem to reform and get back up. We see the young witch is watching from the house. She notes, it's useless. The golems will continue to regenerate each time they're broken. Eventually, they'll either run in fear or collapse in exhaustion. How did they pass through the barrier? Normal humans shouldn't be able to enter here. There's some secret about those two after all. Yeah, we talked about, it's the brand. I get it. Sometimes you don't hear it, but that brand. Or is this too an effect of the appearance of the hawk? But just then, Sir Pico notices Casca picking up a still golem, noting that if you destroy the symbol at the center, the golem will stop. All right, what are we selling today? Adventurer advice. Okay. What are we charging people for this now? All right, adventurers, we're having a 20% discount on all free Elder Wizard advice. Did your Elder Wizard die of old age and or an intelligent Dark Lord? Don't worry, Randy Candy here to go ahead and give you that advice you'd be getting regardless. First and foremost, if you are fighting a giant creature and that creature keeps regenerating, what are you doing here?
Get out of there. Sneaky little guy. Hit that special little spot first thing. 85% of the time, boom, problem solved. That one's free. If you'd like even more great adventurer advice like this, all you gotta do is it's 20% off.
The witch notices they figured out a way to stop the attack, so she comes down to greet them. The villager they found steps forward. Mistress Witch, please listen. You are all welcome. It seems my mistress will see you. Because apparently she is not actually the witch of the forest who's like just not aging and immortal, but she does have an older master. How old? You will see. But they get to go inside the house, which we've covered. It's sensational. But when Isidro asks, isn't she the witch? The young woman responds, I'm Sharik, and I'm still in training. I'm a Valera, her elf says. I'm sure someone will correct me on those pronunciations in the comments down below. Just one person, though, and not several. I look after her. Ha! Not even a real witch yet, Isidro says. I'm Isidro, and I owe you one. I spent half a day up the family tree thanks to you. Do they know about evolution in Berserk? Is Charles Dar... What? She says that she turned him into a monkey because Isidro grabbed her by the boobs. Isidro teases her about it, and it's a thing that happens. But they are finally taken to a large chamber with a old witch sitting at a table. Welcome to the mansion of the spirit tree. The property even has a name. Do you know how nice of a property you have to have a name? Please forgive my apprentice being so impolite. She is merely concerned for my safety. I am Flora, the mistress of this mansion. Oh, you are, the man says. Surely the one from... I remember. My mother was saved from the brink of death by the medicine I received from you that day 50 years ago. It's unbelievable. You're just as you were then. I, too, remember. You were that boy. How nostalgic. Lady Farnese is nervous enough for Sir Pico to notice, saying, Lady Farnese? Young lady, the witch interjects. You do not need to be so frightened. My folk were not among those lives you took. Even if they were, the fault would collectively lie upon the servants of your deity. I do not seek retribution from you as an individual. How'd she? Lady Farnese thinks. And you, branded pair. And here, okay, they've been kind of playing with this throughout the last couple chapters, but there is clear mind reading going on here. For those of you who don't know, the mythology around persecuting witches largely actually comes from the idea that women who rejected society or were seen as outsiders just weren't really liked by the church, so they ended up being scapegoats or persecuted in this way. And so I like that Berserk is taking that and making a witch something that in a lot of literature is evil, nasty, and being like, this is a totally pleasant person who's just found a safe space away from all the horrible shit in the world. I'm saying all of that, not having read far enough to know whether or not this is some kind of horrific trap, and I might be about to really eat my words. But I enjoy when witches are not just your typical straightforward, I serve the devil, bad person, though it can be done well, aka Vavitch. That was a long thought process. And you, the branded pair, how did you? It pleases me to make your acquaintance. I've been waiting for you. You've been waiting. Then you know about us? Yes. They of the brand guided by tiny wings. Oh! Referring to Puck as Tiny Wigs. That's my new favorite way to... Tiny Wigs! Get on over here! Guts thinks she knows about the brand. Could she be an apostle? No, Guts. No. But no. This feeling. It aches faintly, but something's different. They have the brand, Shriek thinks. Guts begins asking questions, but the witch cuts him off, instead looking at the old man. She says she's too weak, near death in fact. She will not be able to help him when it comes to the trolls. But her apprentice will, if Guts will join her. Guts says, whoa, I understand you're worried about your favorite student, but we've got no obligation to go that far. Sorry, but we've got to stick to our journey. To which the witch says, naturally, I do not ask your help for free. I think I might be of some use to you as well. Upon your return, I shall produce a talisman to protect you on the rest of your journey. The cursed power of that brand defies imagination. Erasing it is beyond my power. However, weakening the intensity of its power should reduce the evil spirits it can draw, or at least protect you against yourselves becoming possessed. You can do that? However, due to the immense power of the curse, there is a time limit to the potency of the talisman. Even so, it should hold for the duration of your journey. And Guts, of course, looking to Casca wants any form of protection he can from the external and internal growing within him. Okay, I accept. Negotiation complete. Thank you so much, the old man says to Guts. They all turn to Shriek, who says, it is nice to meet all of you. Now prepare the evening meal, Shriek. Yes, mistress. And the medicated bath. Wait a minute. If you know about the brand, you should also know that no need to worry. This mansion is protected by the talisman as well. I guarantee safety for the night. You may rest easy.
Calling it now, the witch has set all of this up. She somehow is the reason this villager has come to try and ask for assistance, knowing that Guts was going to be showing up to be able to provide this assistance. It's all coming full circle, and she has spun her little witchy web, which witch characters oh so often do. And when they get back, she will give the talisman and die, which will mean this place no longer has protection, which means her apprentice must go off with the party, justifying her joining the crew like it's a Straw Hat situation. The only thing I have a question about is whether or not Sharik knows this. I don't think so.
And we see they begin eating a large meal. Old lady, back to what we were talking about. You said we were waiting for us. What's that supposed to mean? How do you know about the brand? There was an oracle from a friend in the astral world. They of the brand will visit this forest guided by tiny wings. I want you to lend them a hand. Though, I'm the one being helped now. So it's reversed. Lend a hand? Who the hell said, hey, what's that astral world thing? To put it simply, the afterlife. Due to the curse of the brand, you all have been rendered able to keenly sense ethereal bodies, unseen by the naked eye. Are ethereal bodies ghosts? Isidro asks. There is a trinity, in which our world is overlapped by the existence of two other worlds. One is known commonly as the world of spirits, the astral world. The other is the soul of the origin of all existence, the world of idea. That's a little complicated, but it comes down to ghosts, right? Isidro says. Ain't they a little too lively? They're all sticky like snot. Makes me sick. Those are the ethereal bodies that your ethereal body perceives. If an ethereal body is sensed strongly enough, your physical body will see it and touch it if it were a real thing. Elves and trolls are inhabitants of that same astral world. Many people throughout the ages have recognized them as things that actually exist, and because their worldview continues to be passed down, we are able to perceive, see, and touch these little ones. Long ago, it was quite natural to believe in the existence of elves, but with the spread of the doctrine of the Holy See, of one universal worldview, those who can see them have dwindled. So many of the elves who can no longer interact with humans have faded away to some place in the astral world. So that's why Farney couldn't see me at first. I don't know why I just made Puck kind of like Italian. But now that she's seen enough scary stuff, Puck begins rubbing into her face. Savor the taste. That's hilarious. Guts says, you sure we'll be okay in your homeland? Don't tell me it's the afterlife. No, prop. There are plenty of 11 people there. What are you, dumb? The other elf says. Pixies are born exaggerators. I'm a different story, though. Then hey, all everyone has to do is stop believing weird stuff, Isidro says. Then even the trolls will be gone, just like, don't say such mean things, Puck says. All right. Things are not that simple, Shriek says. There is a thing called subconscious that humans cannot control themselves. The Elder Witch continues. Since long ago, we Magi have learned and inherited the practice of releasing our ethereal bodies from the confines of our physical world to delve in the astral world. In the relatively shallow layer of the astral world, known as the interstice, various ethereal beings exist as living legends. Even the scenery is mostly derived from the ethereal forms of our world, so there is a little disparity between it and our physical reality. Thus, the dead, who did not realize they died or left the physical world regretfully, often wander there. Eventually, nearly all become aware of their own death or become unable to maintain the form of their ethereal bodies and pass away from this layer. Then, in the deep layer of the astral world, the scenery comes to look unimaginably different from that of the physical world. There exist astral entities with whom the ethereal bodies of mere humans cannot compare. Angels, demons, god of polytheism, still despair, realms people reach according to their own karma. Maybe those places called heaven and hell exist, though if you dive too deep, you become unable to return, so no one has ever gone that far while alive. Still further, into the abyss, perhaps. The world doesn't exist merely between two dimensions. There exist profound depths within itself. This world could never be summarized by materialism or any single doctrine. Accept the great mysteries and explore the entire universe from within your world. That is the way of magic. And that is where we are going to be ending this read, because I have a very important question to ask the Berserk audience. We are almost done with 8, which means we are wildly catching up with where Berserk is currently at in publication. And am I far enough in to give a detailed and accurate lore deep dive video? I know a lot about this world now, but is there still big reveals to come, and I should wait a couple more volumes? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm also fascinated to sit and ponder and wonder about everything we just learned about the reality and the world of Berserk means for what exactly is happening to Griffith. I also really love this type of magical world presenting where there's just certain mysteries the human mind cannot understand. Don't even try. That's awesome, and I really, really like that. Overall, this is a pretty good section of Berserk. Not my favorite, but it's building to something I'm definitely curious about. And I like the new addition of Shriek, who I kind of already have been spoiled from. He's going to be a major character for a while to come. So, like and subscribe if you have not already. Tweet at me if you'd like me to send you your own deluxe edition of Volume 1. Have a wonderful one. Thank you so much for supporting these videos and supporting me through the time of dealing with that counterclaim. I get it might seem like I overreacted to some people, but if I get 3 of those, I could lose a lot. So that was why things had to be held up for just a little bit. If you'd like to check out the Kickstarter for the bookmark I have going on right now, that is linked down below as well. We just hit $40,000 in backers, 40 times funded. Holy God. Thank you everyone once again. It's been a very, very good start or end to 2022 and hopefully continuing start of 2023. Have a good one, y'all. Peace. And I'd like to record a special shout out to my latest high tier patrons: Brian Timothy Mitchell, Zachary Lee, Linda Frederick, Brian Peterson again, Kieran Hindmarch. Thank you all so much.